Hello everyone and welcome. My name is D'Angelo Edwards, host of Hats Off Media and eager bridge burner. Today, we're going to be talking about... Why is it so dark in here? Intern, hit the lights. I told you pain doesn't go away just because you can't see it. Yes, sir. Alright then, where was I? A while back, I was asked by Deli to join him in his pursuit of debunking some of Mr. Inter's more polarizing reviews in his Nick-O-Rama series. I decided to go with Rise of the TMNT because how bad could his review of it be? It's a fairly competent show that proves to be a fun ride. I can't even think of anything too bad you would say about it.
The animation is really bad. Really bad. Really bad.
Oh, hell no!
Okay, so let me start off with saying that I am not completely without sin here. Back when this show first premiered, while I liked it overall, I gave it a lot of crap as well. I wasn't the biggest fan of the designs, writing, or characterizations, but also keep in mind that when I reviewed this show, there was only one episode available. Mr. Inter had a whole season to work with, but to be honest, I don't even think he made it to episode 3. A lot of the things he criticized in this show really aren't there. And while there is the huge elephant in the room of him saying that the animation is bad, let's start off with some of the smaller things he had a problem with. A little backstory first on the show. Rise of the TMNT is another reboot of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise, this time seeming to take more inspiration from the 80s series, which mostly focused on comedy. A lot has changed here from any of the other interpretations, from the family dynamics to the main villains. While strange at first, a lot of these changes fall into place as the series goes on, and it really turns into a version of the TMNT that can stand on its own. I admit that even though I like this show as a whole, I'm not a fan of everything they do. I still think Leo and Mikey feel a bit too similar, and not every joke lands all the time, but for the most part, I think it's a strong show. And I'm saying this as someone who's been watching the Turtles since they've been born. So as a non-Turtle fan, Mr. Inter is definitely entitled to his opinion. However, a lot of these criticisms come from a lack of knowledge, which I find weird since critics are supposed to do research, but that's neither here nor there. Let's start with probably the weakest of his criticisms. He says that the weapons the Turtles use in this interpretation are futuristic and un-ninja-like. These are sticks. These weapons aren't futuristic at all. I don't even see how you could come to that conclusion. Tonfas and swords have been around forever. And if anything, they have a more mystical feeling to them. They even call them mystical weapons. The only turtle with a futuristic weapon is Donatello, which makes sense because Donatello does machines. He's the tech guy. In fact, he actively turns down the mystic weapon he sees. And as for their weapons being untraditional ninja weapons, dude, read a book. Tonfas are totally ninja weapons, as are Donnie's bow staff and Mikey's Kusari Fundo. It's not a yo-yo, dude. Your only point might be Leo's sword, which is an odachi, which is more closely associated with samurai. But I don't think that's what you were going for with that criticism. And as for them not being the weapons the Turtles are associated with, nope, I gotta say Mr. Inter is wrong there too.
Oh, baby, a triple! Oh, yeah!
Leo just went from 2 swords to 1, which he has done before. Donnie still has his bow, and Mikey has been depicted with some form of grapple weapon for a long time, not just here. Heck, even Raphael used Tonfa for a bit in the comics. So in terms of being objectively wrong, this is the place where Mr. Inter falters the most. Moving on, let's talk about his gripes with the redesigns. He mentions that the designs used here would be fine if they were the first ones we had ever seen, and that major redesigns require time to ease into. So, I guess over 30 years is not enough time?
So I just wait here then?
This criticism strikes me as odd because I would get it if he just said he didn't like them. They took some time to grow on me too, but he says that they changed too much, too fast. When the Turtles have been changing in every single series they've been in. They've never looked the same, and while every design can't please everyone, you should just admit that it's something you don't like, and explain why you don't like it. If this had been back when the first episode had aired, I would have gladly joined Mr. Enter in bashing Splinter's new design. But if you watch the show, there is a reason he is designed that way. Which brings me to his critique of the way the characters are portrayed. In this series, Splinter is not the same Splinter we are used to. He's a bum, a washed up bum, and so his character is designed to look a little off-putting. In the earlier episodes, I can totally understand not liking Splinter, as a character or his design. But as the story progresses, and yes, there is a story, but Mr. Enter casually forgets to mention it, you learn who Splinter previously was and how he became this way. And you actually follow him as he tries to reclaim his former glory. It's a really good character arc, and it totally changed my mind about the character. Mr. Enter mentioned that he's usually portrayed as a wise mentor, and they instead decided to go with a bumbling dad persona? He says that previous versions of Splinters were more unique, but if anything, the wise old sensei trope is even more...
Say the line, Bart!
Cliché.
This is why if you're going to make a review of an entire series, you need to watch the entire series. If you watch a few episodes and call it a day, you're not going to know anything. And it's fine if you want to drop a show, but don't act like you know all about everything when you've seen like 3 episodes. He even mentions in a follow-up post how he doesn't think shows should use the defense of it gets better later, and I see his point, if you are watching casually. I've dropped shows before, because I wasn't interested in the first bits. But as a critic, you can't pick and choose when you're talking about something. He also said that they should have foreshadowed Splinter's character, and they did. He's always watching kung fu movies, and spoilers here, but they're movies of who he used to be. Not every part of the story has to be spoon-fed to you. If you close yourself up to something because you think it's going to be the same as something you hate, well then you might never try anything new again. But enough about that, because I could ramble for hours on it. Another character he had a problem with was April, saying they made her black to seem a bit more progressive, but who cares? Her being black doesn't really have anything to do with her as a character, and April has always been a flexible character. She's been a reporter, a scientist, a high schooler. If anything, Mr. Enter makes a good case of why they changed their character. She's always changing. And though he says that they hang around with her for no reason, have you ever heard of people being friends? It's actually kind of refreshing that we don't have to go through another origin story of how April met the turtles. And it leaves room for exploring it in later episodes if they really want to. Now, when it comes to a lot of his other criticisms, I can't really complain about them. If he doesn't like the characters or the story, that's fine, that's his opinion. I mean, he didn't even really explain any of the plot or individual characters, but what do you want out of a critic? Legitimate critique?
We don't do that here.
But enough of that, let's talk about an area where Mr. Enter is objectively wrong. He says the animation in this show is bad. And I'm sorry, but I might start sounding a little salty from this point on. So this is a problem I have not just with Mr. Enter, but with animation fans as a whole. So many people don't understand the concept of limited animation. It's a method used in animation to get their point across while keeping the budget in line. And I find it super interesting, because when you do it right, you can actually get some pretty strong results. Anime does this a lot, by using strong posing and camera movements to sell the movement, while keeping frames down. And when it's done right, your brain pretty much fills in all the blanks. And you don't notice it. It's the same principle that goes into making comics. And in Rise, it's done really well. Even when the animation becomes more limited, because the silhouettes of the turtles are so readable, and the posing is done so strongly, that it doesn't look out of place when compared to the action scenes. If anything, it serves to show just how crazy things can get when the action cranks up. Mr. Enter says that they should learn to budget better, but if anything, this shows that they know how to budget, giving the scenes that they really want to stand out the attention they deserve. Cartoons have been doing this for a long time, He tries to give Teen Titans a pass when they do the exact same thing. And maybe try not to show some of the show's best animated moments when you're blasting the animation, okay? Rise of the TMNT is a good show, and this is coming from a lifelong Ninja Turtles fan. If you're gonna say that something is bad, especially something that clearly has a lot of work put into it, then you better have the decency to at least do some basic research, or I don't know, cut some time away from stealing pitches to watch at least half a season of what you're reviewing. Deli better pay me good for watching this garbage review. You did this for free, sir. I did what for free? Hey guys, it's me. Haven't done an end card recording in a while, but I hope you liked the video, because if you did, then I've got a treat for you. Me and a bunch of my friends actually put together a whole little collaboration in order to try and debunk some of Mr. Enter's more, let's say, rough views on Nickelodeon shows in this Nick-O-Rama series. It's not really so much a takedown of Mr. Enter as it is really just trying to give these shows the love they deserve, you know? So if you want, go check those out. And, yeah, have a good day. I love you, but only if you subscribe. Bye.